I have gone off the deep end. Today we're playing 5-color the Epic Storm with only fetchables. We're playing Silence and Jetmir's Garden. Let's go check it out. I've been saying this a lot recently. Let's thank Matthew Story for today's donation deck. Matthew, thank you once again for supporting the channel. And Matthew wanted to see the latest and greatest of the Epic Storm deck list. So if you're a follower of the channel, you might have seen a list that I posted with Rafine's Tower. That was the Epic Storm version 18.4. And in that build, we were not playing Undercity Sewers. Instead, we were playing, I believe, Commercial District to pair with the Rafine's Tower. And it felt good at a small sample size. We were playing 3 copies of Silence in the sideboard, we were boarding up to 9 protection spells versus blue decks, and everything seemed okay. And then a member of our Stormtrooper community had a pretty good idea of swapping the Undercity Sewers and the Commercial District, so that way you had a land that you could fetch on the end step and Surveil, untap, and Brainstorm off of Undercity Sewers. Like I said, great idea. And then you could fetch Jetmir's Garden that was in the main deck instead of the Commercial District for your next tap land. And things continued to go pretty well. And with a larger sample, we found that we were missing the second Surveil land, which is to be expected. It is the consistency that allows us to not play cards like Ponder. So I get wanting to play both Surveil lands. And so we came up with a compromise. We put the Jetmir's Garden in the sideboard. We cut the 4th copy of Silence because, let's be honest, we were playing a lot of protection spells. 9 protection spells plus 10 if you count the sideboard Thoughtseize felt a little bit like overkill, and we were overboarding. And then we started looking at some of the data, and we noticed that our game 1 win rate was incredible, but our postboard win rate versus blue decks wasn't as good as we would have hoped. It's because we were boarding out Brainstorm versus a lot of the blue decks, especially things like Dimir Tempo, for example, because it felt like nothing else was cuttable. And we started reevaluating, and playing 1 less protection spell in the sideboard allows us to map differently than we were previously. So we were just boarding out 4 Brainstorms. Today I will show you, because I'm sure I'll get paired against a blue deck, the new way that we'll be sideboarding with the sideboard Thoughtseize. So stick around and watch the video. I'm sure we'll get paired against the blue strategy. But the idea now is that you want to be boarding in Silence, Boseiju, and Jetmir's Garden. So basically, whenever you're bringing in the Silence, you bring in the additional white source. So that's the idea there. And it allows you to keep the main deck Surveil pairing of Commercial District and the Undercity Sewers. And one change, since my last videos, we are playing a main deck Silence. This is part of the reason we're playing the White Splash. So why play Silence at all? It beats Consign to Memory, it beats Stifle, it beats Mindbreak Trap. So it does a lot that Veil of Summer actually does not do. Veil of Summer says your spells can't be countered. It doesn't mention abilities. Same thing with Hexing Squelcher. So Silence covers up all the ground that Hexing Squelcher and Veil of Summer miss. So by playing all 3 of these, you essentially kick blue decks in the teeth, assuming you don't over sideboard, which is really what we're looking to do today. So not overboard, but also crush blue decks with all of our really effective disruption. That's the idea here. You'll also notice that we went up to 13 lands. We cut the 4th copy of Mox Opal so we could fit in a scrub land. This allows us to cast the Silence, but also the 4th copy of Mox Opal was not a crucial slot. If I went back to 4-color, I would add it back in, but it's not a necessary slot. It is a flex spot within the deck. So I think it's okay, or at least acceptable, to trim a Mox Opal for a guaranteed mana source in land number 13 being our scrub land. And why would I choose to play this deck list today? I mentioned Mindbreak Trap. It's all over the Legacy metagame right now, and I think having Silence to combat that is very, very effective. So I think you could get by in a metagame with a lot of Stifles or Consigned to Memories without playing the Silence effects. But with Mindbreak Trap, I felt like Thoughtseize, when you're boarding in, doesn't cut it. Because Silence protects your Echo of Aeons both pre-Silence and post-Echo of Aeons. Where if you Thoughtseize your opponent, you discard a Mindbreak Trap, and now you Echo of Aeons. What if they draw another Mindbreak Trap? Thoughtseize now just costs you a game. For Silence, you play it before you cast that Echo of Aeons and you're safe for the rest of the turn. That's the idea there. So one benefit of playing Silence is we do not have to play Approach of the Second Sun anymore. So the idea is, against One Ring strategies, you'll put Song of Creation into play. you'll cast a whole bunch of spells. Eventually, you'll play Empty the Warrens, and then you'll cast some more spells, maybe, I don't know. And then eventually, you'll use Beseech Dimir to bargain away your Song of Creation. Now you will not discard your hand during the end step because Song of Creation is no longer there. So you could set up a bunch of mana sources like Lotus Petal or Mox Opal along with Silence, and then silence them in their upkeep, and then on your next turn, untap and attack them with Empty the Warrens. We tried lists with no Grape Shot in them, and ultimately what we found was that if you're a deck where you're really leaning on Silence, Empty the Warrens in order to beat Veil of Summer or the One Ring, having just this strategy did not work. It's effective versus the One Ring, don't get me wrong, but it's less effective versus Veil of Summer. And what we found was that with Boomerang Basics being a blue card and our answer to permanence, our opponents might have something like a flipped Tamiyo Inquisitive Student plus Veil of Summer, and your silences could never beat that. It doesn't matter because the Tamiyo always checks the Empty the Warrens, and then you're stuck in an awkward situation. We don't necessarily love that. Another thing that came up was that show and tell strategies play their own copies of Veil of Summer. So if they have something like a sneak attack in play, and then you make 40 goblins plus silence, you might just be dead anyway. And we thought, hey, it's a low cost to play Grape Shot to answer things like Collector Oofer, Lavinia, Azorius Renegade, things like that. And if you're way more likely to win with a Grape Shot off of an Echo of Aeons. There's so many turns where I play where I end up at accidentally 20 Storm just because I've been wheeling and dealing and drawing cards, etc. Winning with Grape Shot is pretty easy. And I like having that flexibility there versus Veil of Summer. But I do think Silence plus Empty the Warrens is good enough versus all of the One Ring strategies of the format. So that's where we're at. Another change would be the re-edition or addition of Peer into the Abyss. So this is in here as another way to beat Mindbreak Trap. So in games in which you play Mox Opals and Lotus Petals and Lion's Eye Diamonds on turn 1, then on turn 2, as your first spell of the turn, you play Burning Wish. The second spell of the turn is Peer into the Abyss. Your opponent cannot play Mindbreak Trap, and this allows you to beat that. It also provides enough resources to beat Consign to Memory. If you think your opponent's sitting on a Consign to Memory, much like Song of Creation, it allows you to beat Consign to Memory that way. It beats Graveyard Hate like Leyline of the Void or Grafdigger's Cage. I've actually been really impressed with this card. I'm currently using it around 10% of the time, so more than that 7% rule in order to keep it. So I don't see it myself cutting it anytime soon. With us playing, I'm sorry, I know that this is a long deck tech. I'm already over 7 minutes. With us playing the Jetmir's Guardian and the sideboard to board in with the silences, I cut the second copy of Beseiju and put in the fourth Boomerang Basics again. This is because I don't think you can afford to bring in 3 lands versus the tempo decks, because we're already playing 13 lands in the main deck. I do not want to be boarding up to 16 lands in my Echo of Aeon strategy. That's just asking you to fizzle over and over again. So I'll be honest with you, I don't even love 15. I think 15 is pushing the limit. I would not play 16. I think if you want your Echo of Aeons to convert, the fewer the lands, the better. And I think it becomes a little bit sketchy when you're bringing in, 15 plus lands. So in order to accommodate that, we switch back to Boomerang Basics, and we have one Beseiju to gamble for permanence out of blue decks. But if you look at a lot of blue decks, like looking at the metagame on MTG Goldfish, most of them are not playing too many hate permanents in the sideboard anymore. Null Rod has fallen, quite a bit due to Mystic Forge leaving the metagame. So I think that this is an acceptable list for the moment. This is what we'll be playing today. Sorry for such a long deck tech, but hopefully you learned something or, have some insight. Or if you have feedback for me, put that down below. Thank you to Matthew Story once again for the donation deck. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And I will see you all in match number 1. Don't go anywhere. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to match number 1. We are on the play, and I have no idea what our opponent's playing, so we're just looking to keep a well-rounded hand. Wow, this is good. We will keep. So the goal with a hand like this is to gamble for another Lion's Eye Diamond. You could gamble for a Hexing Squelcher as well. That is a possibility, but if you gamble for another diamond, you can then spin with Echo of Aeons, and if it resolves, great, because now you're going to have 4 available mana. If they Force of Will it, you have another Echo of Aeons, and you're right back in the ballgame. We'll play that Verdant Catacombs, cast the Lion's Eye Diamond. Now we'll fetch. Let's grab Taiga, and now I'll cast Gamble. Select Lion's Eye Diamond. We discard Echo of Aeons, perfect. We'll play Lotus Petal, play the Lion's Eye Diamond, and now I'll sacrifice Diamond for 3 blue and 3 black. Let's flashback Echo of Aeons. It resolves, okay. And it looks like we have a protected win here, so I can play Lotus Petal, play Lotus Petal. I would like to Thoughtseize here, so I'm going to do that. So I will cast Burning Wish using a blue. I would like to know what they're playing. Grab Thoughtseize, let's cast it. We're playing the mirror match! How about that? Love it, you should have conceded. Alright, and now I will cast Beseech the Mirror. I mean, I don't really want to be playing a mirror match, but I'm glad I guess I won the die roll. And now we'll select Tendrils of Agony. Okay, now it comes down to the Silence Mirror. Uh-oh. I won the important game, because now I'll be on the play for game number 3. We'll sideboard in Silence, although they probably have one more Silence than I do, just because they don't know that I cut a Silence if they're playing the 5-color list. Well, we have to get rid of Hexing Squelcher, and then most likely the Runehorn Hellkite. And we'll submit 3 tap lands in the Storm Mirror. I guess you don't have to bring in the Jetmir's Garden, but I do think there's some value to having 2 white sources. So I would prefer to have it. I think it's going to be okay. Our opponent has kept a 7-card hand, which is probably bad for me. We'll keep this as well. They play a Verdant Catacombs, and they just pass, which means that they might have a Silence in hand. They're going to fetch on my upkeep. Is this an upkeep Silence? It looks like it might be. There's the scrub land. Okay. I'll play Badlands and pass. That is not a land that protects me here, so that's a little dicey. No Veil of Summer, no Silence active. They play Taiga and a Gamble. Let's hope this puts Lion's Eye Diamond to the graveyard. They discard a Rafine's Tower. Okay, so there are a couple lists behind me. They play Lion's Eye Diamond, Dark Ritual, and now they're going to spin with Echo of Aeons. This hand is kind of bad. I suppose if I draw another artifact, it could be okay. Pass the turn. Come on. Now they Brainstorm, another Lion's Eye Diamond, and they pass. Alright, that is good. So, does that give me a deterministic win here? So I've played my land. I can go Petal, Petal, Opal, Beseech the Mirror with an open fetch, Gaia's Wills from 5, Petal, Petal, Opal, Beseech the Mirror, Tendrils of Agony. Yeah, this is just deterministic lethal. We'll grab Underground Sea, play Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, black, black, and black, Beseech the Mirror. We'll select Gaia's Will and cast it. Lotus Petal, Mox Opal. There we go. And now I will cast Beseech the Mirror, Storm 9, Tendrils of Agony is Storm 10. A lucky Lotus Petal draw. I'll take it. Boom. Looks like we've won match number 1. Alright, stick around and hopefully you enjoy match number 2 as well. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Welcome to the second match. We're on the draw versus VCF, and their Goldfish history is littered with blue decks. I'm going to assume they're playing a blue strategy. I love that we have Runehorn Hellkite plus Lion's Eye Diamond. We have some land drops. There's a lot to like here. They play a Scalding Tarn, another Dark Ritual. Don't mind if I do. We'll play our land and pass. They fetch with Scalding Tarn, for Basic Island and Ponder. They play an Underground Sea. Okay. I was not expecting Underground Sea. Most of the results are Is It Delver, so a Thoughtseize here could really hurt. Cameo Inquisitive Student. Okay. So I was not punished for holding the Lion's Eye Diamond. I could have been, though. We'll grab Commercial District and Surveil. Keep the Lotus Petal. Wonderful draw. We'll play the Underground Sea. Let's play Lotus Petal. Lion's Eye Diamond. Dark Ritual. So I guess the question here is whether or not you want to try to Veil of Summer, because if they Force of Will it, you've wasted a mana. You could respond with Runehorn Hellkite and try to draw another Veil of Summer, but now your colors are choked a little bit. I'm going to try the Veil of Summer. I don't expect it to resolve. And it does. Wow. Alright, let's use the Runehorn Hellkite. We have 2 floating mana plus a Lotus Petal. Our opponent did not want me to see what they were playing. They just conceded game number 1. Interesting. Alright, well, we'll bring in our copies of Silence, our Jetmir's Garden, and our Boseiju Who Endures. This is the plan for blue decks. Previously, I was boarding out 4 copies of Brainstorm. We are not doing that here today. Instead, we are boarding out 2 copies of Gamble, 1 Mox Opal, and then a Fetch Land. Because we're on 4 Verdant Catacombs, we'll board out 1 of those. The idea behind the split between Verdant Catacombs and Bloodstained Mire is that most people seem to think that Bloodstained Mire is a combo land. So playing Verdant Catacombs gives you a little smidgen of a hair of, not giving your opponent that information. So I think Verdant Catacombs is technically the correct land to play 4 of. But if you own 4 Bloodstained Mire and only 3 Verdant Catacombs, just play what you own. In the grand scheme of things, it probably does not matter. Alright, game 2, we've opened up a hand that doesn't really function. We'll send this one back. This one's fairly good. We'll keep bottom the Mox Opal. They lead on a Polluted Delta. They fetch Underground Sea and Ponder. Part of me wonders if they conceded game number 1 because they're on Doomsday. And they didn't want me to see that they were on Doomsday. And not actually like Dimir Tempo, but we will find out. Yep, and there's the Lotus Petal that confirms Doomsday. Alright. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond, 4 cards in their hand. I wish my hand was a little bit more interactive here. That was good. We'll play Underground Sea. I could play the Diamond, but I could also be running it into a Consigned to Memory, which I'm not super interested in. So I think I'm going to pass here, and hopefully they don't kill me. And then next turn I can go Dark Ritual, Badlands, well, probably Badlands and then Dark Ritual, Hexing Squelcher into Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond, Burning Wish, etc. And you might be saying, why hold the Lotus Petal or Lion's Eye Diamond? Primarily 2 reasons. 1, Consigned to Memory. I don't want to get my important spells countered. The second thing, if they Doomsday and pass here holding up Forcible Protection, having that Storm count means that I could just play Tendrils of Agony into lethal. If I play out too much, I'm going to end up short on Storm and have to cast Echo of Aeons, which could lead to me fizzling. So those are the 2 things that I'm thinking about here. Our opponent has finished resolving Brainstorm. They played a Bloodstained Mire, and now they're passing. Okay. Undercity Sewers is the draw. Let's play Dark Ritual. And now we'll play the Hexing Squelcher. If we had drawn a Mox Opal, I actually would have had a deterministic win through Beseech the Mirror in the sideboard, but that's not what happened. So we're most likely going to spin with Echo of Aeons here and hope that even with 1 mana floating and no land drop that we are able to convert into a win. Play the Burning Wish. Say yes. We'll grab the sideboard copy of Echo of Aeons. And let's draw a new hand. 1 black mana floating, Storm 6. That was terrible. That was real bad. Okay, I will play out Chrome Mox and imprint Dark Ritual. This is why you don't want 15 plus lands in your deck. Granted, these are all lands that we would normally have, but it just increases the number of lands that you could draw. Currently, we actually boarded out a land, so we're at 14. And I think 14 is a lot safer than 15 personally, but oh well. The game plan here would be hoping that the opponent does not kill me, but also plays a Thoughtseize and discards my Echo of Aeons. They search out an Undercity Sewers with their Bloodstained Mire, gets rid of a Murktide Regent, and they play another Brainstorm. They play Polluted Delta, now they're fetching, and another Brainstorm. They play Dark Ritual, unfortunate. I was hoping for a Thoughtseize there. Gothy Voidwalker, that hurts. And now Orcish Bowmasters, yep. Okay. So currently I can't do anything, and I draw Tendrils, which is a terrible draw. We'll play Bloodstained Mire and pass the turn. Now they ponder. They shuffle with the ponder. No, they do not shuffle. They kept the ponder, my bad. Ugh, bummer. Okay. I'm so far away from winning right now. They took the Tendrils? Really? I'm a little surprised by that choice. They cycle Street Wraith, and now a Polluted Delta. They fetch with the Polluted Delta. This looks like a Murktide Regent, and it is. So they'll attack for 3. I'll go to 16. Next turn, they can attack for at least 11. That's not quite lethal, but almost. Ouch. Alright, so now we'll fetch down to 15. I'll grab Undercity Sewers. So this gives me 2 blue to potentially hardcast the Echo of Aeons. I don't think I'm allowed to keep Silence. Well, I guess if I... Hold on. If I surveil it away, they can then hold up Dauthi Voidwalker, and I can never win. I don't think I'm actually allowed to keep this, so I have to bank on my opponent messing up. I just don't have the resources to win in time if I keep that. You drew a Chrome Mox. I'll play Verdant Catacombs and pass. So if I was the opponent, next turn I would not swing with the Dauthi Voidwalker. I would just attack with the Murktide Regent, because it's actually the same amount of clock anyway. But sometimes you have to just bank on your opponent messing up, and this is one of those scenarios. And they do swing with both. They're giving me a chance. I mean, they shouldn't, but here I am. Okay, no blocks. They have a Wasteland. Destroys my Badlands. Sure. I don't think we're capable of winning, but maybe. I guess there's like a world in which I draw Dark Ritual, I hardcast the Echo of Aeons, and then we spin and I draw Veil of Summer. Let's grab the Commercial District. Another Chrome Mox doesn't do it. We'll get rid of that. Burning Wish. Chrome is 12. I'm sorry, their life total is 12. If I imprint the Echo... Hold on. So let's say we play Taiga. Burning Wish, Chrome Mox. It's from 2. Beseech is 3, Beseech is 4, Tendrils is 5. So I have to attack here and hope that they don't block. Swing with the Hexing Squelcher, and they do block. So I think I'm just dead. Okay, I'm at 3. Let's just count this one more time. Chrome Mox is Storm 1, Burning Wish is 2, Beseech the Mirror is 3, Beseech the Mirror is 4, Tendrils of Agony. No, the Tendrils in my deck is exiled. That's right, so that's not even a line anyway. Alright, let's just go to game 3. So it's interesting. Our opponent's on Tempo Doomsday, the Michael Reed deck, and traditionally Runehorn Hellkite is lights out in the matchup. It's very good. But our opponent's playing Dauthi Voidwalkers and Orcish Bowmasters, so it's not quite the same. I don't think we need Beseiju Who Endures here. We can actually get that out of our deck. And then maybe we bring the Verdant Catacombs back in. The question is, like, do you want to board 1 Gamble back in? And if so, is it land 14? And it might be. So this way we still have 3 Gambles to access the Runehorn Hellkite. I think this could be okay. We'll try this. Game 3 on the play versus Tempo Doomsday. Sure, we'll play Bloodstained Mire and then Lion's Eye Diamond. Pass the turn. We definitely want to fetch for Jetmir's Garden on the end step. They have a Lotus Petal. They fetch with Bloodstained Mire, Dark Ritual, Doomsday. Fast start. Okay. I could have silenced in response to Dark Ritual. That's a decision you can make, I guess. I don't feel like that's actually going to be good enough, so I don't want to do that. I have to hope that our opponent just thinks that they have the win and goes for it. Our opponent has selected 5 cards. They do have Consigned to Memory in their deck. Wastelands. I do not see a Lion's Eye Diamond, so it's possible they made a Lion's Eye Diamond pile here. Either that or they sideboarded it out. But they played one last game, which tells me it is a Lion's Eye Diamond pile, which would reward me for waiting on the silence. Here's the Brainstorm. So they did build a Lion's Eye Diamond pile. This could be the blowout we're looking for. There's Lion's Eye Diamond. Now they're going to cycle Street Wraith. So this is actually a pivotal moment. Do I silence here? So they're probably going to get Consider. Like, I think it's free to let them do this. And there's the Consider. I have to respond to this. Because if their top card is Oracle, I can't win. So we'll fetch. The downside is this is going to leave me without red mana. So I have to hope their last card in the deck is not a land. We'll play Silence. And our opponent has conceded the match. Looks like my decision to hold on that Silence ended up paying huge dividends. Silence is a powerful card, and we are now 2-0 in this Legacy League. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $15.99. This token combo pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens featuring classic Storm and Mana tokens with new inclusions such as our modern Ruby Storm package, but that's not all. Our token pack covers a variety of formats from Pauper to CDH with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Time for the third match. We're on the draw, and our opponent's Goldfish history is nothing but initiative strategies, either Naya or Gruul. So I don't know if we're allowed to keep this hand. This would be a great hand versus something like Dimir Tempo, but versus a prison deck, I don't think this is going to cut it, so we will mulligan. No thank you. This is fine. We'll get rid of Tendrils of Agony and Beseech the Mirror. Okay, let's hope that nothing bad happens. Scrubland. No! Alright, so maybe my 7 would have been good enough. They most likely take Lion's Eye Diamond here. They take the gamble. Interesting. That was a wonderful draw. Holy moly. Okay, maybe we can punish them here. We'll play the gamble and then cast Brainstorm. We'll keep the Veil of Summer. We'll get rid of the other two. Play the Bloodstained Mire, and now we'll pass the turn. They play a Karakas. Voice of Victory. Okay. I wonder if this is actually just energy instead of, something else. I could be wrong. We'll grab Commercial District, Surveil, get rid of the Dark Ritual. Gaia's Will, I just got rid of you. I don't think I'm going to live 5 turns, so I'm not going to suspend that. And I was also punished for keeping the Veil of Summer because now they have the Voice of Victory. So I will not be able to cast Veil of Summer to protect myself from another discard spell. Or even cycle it, which is what I was hoping for. Weird. Okay. So now they attack with the Voice of Victory, and I'll lose some more life due to this Starscape Cleric. Cute combo. Alright, I am looking for an Echo of Aeons here. Nope. Alright, we'll go to 12 and fetch our other Surveil land. So, having both Surveil lands has come up a few times this league. Echo of Aeons. No, but I'll keep a Brainstorm. Hopefully they can't kill me this turn. They have 4 damage on board, plus the 2 tokens is 6, plus the Starscape Cleric triggers, that's 8. So they need 4 more damage to kill me right now. Does that kill me? I'm at 10. That might do it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Wow. Okay. You got me. We did not draw into what we needed. We probably don't need Hexing Squelcher. We'll bring him the Beseiju indoors. We want Boomerang Basics. Likely don't need the Runehorn Hellkite. We probably want Empty the Warrens versus Leyline of the Void. Get rid of the Silence, and then we'll shave 1 Veil of Summer. You could also try no Scrubland, because we are boarding out the white cards, and then you could keep the 3rd Veil of Summer. I just don't know if you ever want to hold open Veil of Summer versus a deck that's boarding in Deafening Silence. I suppose we'll try this. Unfortunate that we lost game 1, though. That means that game 3, they could have a turn 1 Thoughtseize or turn 1 Deafening Silence, and really puts a damper on things. No, not playable. So we need to win our gamble, but this is an acceptable hand. Chromox, Imprint, Empty the Warrens, gamble. 75% chance for success, 100% chance for Entomb. Alright, we have lost. They play a Scrubland, and there's Deafening Silence. Our deck just did not want to win this round. We will pass. I would need several good draws to come back. I know that we have Boomerang Basics, but I would need Lion's Eye Diamond. I would need a blue source to cast the Boomerang Basics. It's just not probable. And now a Thoughtseize. They discard the Boomerang Basics into Guide of Souls. Okay, well, I guess it's a step, but our Boomerang Basics is gone now. Alright, so they warp a creature. And now an Ocelot Pride, and they swing. I suppose I could just spin the Echo, and then hopefully find, an answer to Deafening Silence. That's something I just considered. There's a chance they have another Deafening Silence and I lose, but I think currently I'm not going to win the game regardless, so maybe I am supposed to just spin. Yeah, let's do it. Cast Echo of Aeons. That was bad. Pass the turn. I was hoping for a land. They fetch. My best draw by far would be our Singleton Beseiju who endures. They get rid of a Wasteland. They fetch with Marsh. I'm sorry, they play Marsh Flats. Now they're fetching with it. Grabs a basic Plains, another Guide of Souls, another Ocelot Pride, up to 6 energy. So they can pump up, and now a Voidmere. Wow. That's a lot of hate. So now a Besieger Who Endures doesn't even win it for me. I'm going to take my draw step and then concede. I just want to see what my top card is. It was a gamble. Okay. So we are now 2-1, losing to Orzhov Energy. The Gold Sabertooth times the Epic Storm Collection has arrived with 3 full-size tokens showcasing the beloved Dark Ritual, CDH Rogsai, and Legacy of the Epic Storm for just $5. On the backs of these tokens, there's a place for my signature or a custom message. In addition to these sweet tokens, a friendly reminder that all orders that ship from theepicstorm.com also come with a signed Storm token from yours truly. Time for match number 4, looking to bounce back. Our opponent only has results with Boros Energy and Modern. Not really sure what they're playing. They could be on energy. We've lost the die roll. Once again, Guy's Will is just ruining my day. It happened last round. It's happening this round. This would be a turn 1 win, except we have the Guy's Will in my hand. So what you could do is go Dark Ritual after playing the Lotus Petal, Beseech the Mirror, bargaining the Mox Opal, go get Song of Creation. Okay, but now what? You have no way of triggering the Song of Creation, so you could keep this and hope to draw a land or another card that triggers the Song of Creation, or you could just mulligan. I think I'm going to mulligan. It just seems too risky, and what if your opponent is not playing Boros Energy or energy at all in Legacy? So you're making a big assumption there. I think I'd be just happier keeping a more balanced hand. This is decent. We'll keep and get rid of the Tendrils of Agony. They play Urza's Saga, and they pass. Okay. Lotus Petal, a good draw. We'll play the Lotus Petal, play Lion's Eye Diamond, play Chrome Mox, and print the Gamble. You could try to gamble here, and you have 66% chance of success. And I think I will, because the upside is so great with the Echo converting if you do win the flip. Of course, I lose the flip, such as life. And now we'll spin the wheel on Echo of Aeons. I think I'm going to pass the turn here. Our opponent's most likely on lands if I had to take a wild guess. The next turn I could gamble for another Echo with double Dark Ritual, which seems so much better than just spinning the wheel on gamble again with no mana floating. And if they're on Saga Storm, I have Veil of Summer. So a lot of upside for just passing here. Marsh Flats, okay. This says more Saga Storm than anything else. Underground Sea? Duress. So it is Saga Storm. I'll cast the Veil of Summer. Lotus Petal was a good draw. Alright, so it's also good that we passed the turn and did not win, because now I know for game 2 that they're on Storm. And a lot of these builds are actually playing Mindbreak Trap in the sideboard right now. They play a Mox Opal, and now they play a Chrome Mox, imprint Trigger on the stack, exiles Infernal Tutor, Dark Ritual, 4 mana. This could Beseech the Mirror, and they do. Interesting. What are you getting here? You can't add Nauseam off of it. Guy's Will isn't lethal. Do you have like a main deck Empty the Warrens? Like, are you playing Song of Creation instead of Ad Nauseam? They sacrificed the Mox Opal. Did you forget that Tendrils of Agony can't target me with Veil of Summer? Is that what's happening here? Guy's Will. You've already played a land. Mox Opal isn't active. This is so odd. Shame concession incoming? Realizing that you can't play Dark Ritual from your graveyard and the Mox Opal isn't active anyway? And they shame concede. Nice. Okay. Sweet. We do not want Hexing Squelcher. We do not want the Runehorn Hellkite. Although Runehorn Hellkite can be useful for beating Mindbreak Trap. So it has some value if you decide to keep it. And then Jetmir's Garden is the other card we'd like here. So would you rather have 14 lands? This leaves you with both Surveil lands in case you want them. Or, so like, you could have, we're at 61, I want to make that clear. You have to cut a card. So if you want to keep Runehorn Hellkite, I think you're supposed to board out a fetch land. Which could be okay. Obviously, like, opening up hands on a bunch of tap lands, because now we have 3 tap lands in our deck and the Storm Mirror is risky. Or you get rid of Runehorn Hellkite, and now you have an extra untap land in your deck. Runehorn Hellkite could be useful for, like, gamble situations to play around the Mindbreak Trap, but I don't know how often that actually comes up. So my gut tells me to board out the Runehorn Hellkite and stop trying to be cute. So I will submit this. Game number 2, our opponent has taken a mulligan. This is what I was talking about with double tap land. That said, this hand is so decent. I mean, if they kill me turn 1, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. But I like having silence. I like having a lot of action. The one thing this hand does not have is untapped mana sources. So my best draw by far would be Lotus Petal. They play an Urza Saga and not a turn 1 discard spell. Lotus Petal. Well, now they could play a discard spell. Dark Ritual, am I just dead? Uh-oh. They can bargain. Well, now they can add Nauseam. What a hand. Yeah, so we're going to make them go through the motions here. They beseech the mirror, sacrificing Urza Saga. So they're not going to go for ad nauseum. They're just going for the clean win. Okay, I am dead. They turn 1 me on the play. All right, so now we're going to be on the play for game number 3. I'm going to leave the deck as it is. So that's sort of the importance of having those untapped lands. Granted, I never got a turn, so it didn't matter. But if I had had a turn, we wouldn't have had Silence Protection because all my lands were tap lands. On the play. Commercial District. Even if this was an untapped land, I don't know if this is... I guess I could spin the wheel on Echo, but I'd have to hope to dodge Mindbreak Trap. I'm going to mulligan. Brutal. Alright, down to 5. Is this a keep? So, this being 5 instead of 6 or even 7 plays a huge deal, or a huge factor here. Because I can't... Well, okay. I guess one thing I could do... No, that doesn't work either. If it was a 6-card hand, you could upkeep Silence them and then Echo on turn 2. But that's not a possibility. I'm going to bottom both copies of Silence and then probably end up losing to Mindbreak Trap. There's just not a good way to have it all. Because if I want to keep up Silence, I have to bottom Song of Creation plus either land or gamble, and then my hand doesn't function. So you have to get rid of something here. And unfortunately, it just leads to me losing to one of their 2 copies of Mindbreak Trap. We'll play Lion's Eye Diamond. You could pass the turn, but you also risk losing the game to a turn 1 combo. We're going to imprint the Song of Creation, play the gamble, select Echo of Aeons, and spin. Turn 4. No Mindbreak Trap, but we also did not hit a win. I'm going to play Brainstorm. This also does not win. But it could be a win next turn, assuming that I get another turn. I could also try spinning the wheel on another Echo, but once again, Mindbreak Trap is a concern. I'm going to put back Gamble, play the Lion's Eye Diamond, play Mox Opal, and play Gamble. I think I'll grab a Silence. We discard Dark Ritual. So this could give me a protected win next turn, assuming that I'm not dead. They have Bayou, Lotus Petal. Uh-oh. I gave them a 7-card hand that's very explosive. Things are not looking good for the home team. Thoughtseize, yeah. Jigs up. They take the Silence, and they pass. We draw Chrome Mox. I have a deterministic win here, but it loses to any interaction. By deterministic, I'm going to mean Peer into the Abyss. I cannot beat a Flusterstorm or a Mindbreak Trap, but Peer into the Abyss is essentially deterministic in this deck. I will crack for 3 more black. Burning Wish. Say yes. We'll grab Peer into the Abyss. Cast it targeting me. From 4. It resolves! Let's go. So I think at this point, their interaction could be Veil of Summer. That would be the card that they were most likely to have. We'll play Lion's Eye Diamond. Did I hit another Silence somewhere? No. Okay. Let's play a Chrome Mox. Imprint Beseech the Mirror. Play a couple copies of Dark Ritual. We'll float a red off of the Mox Opal. And we'll Beseech the Mirror. Sacrifice the Mox Opal. And this is a situation which the Grape Shot is a lot better because I've already imprinted Song of Creation. So if our opponent plays a Veil of Summer here, we would be in a weird spot because the Silence just resolved. So this should be a pretty easy win. But if they had the Veil of Summer, I could still win with Grape Shot where I couldn't if I imprinted Song of Creation. We'll play Scrubland, hold control, cast the Burning Wish, sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond for 3 black. Yes. Grab the Tendrils of Agony. Target you. And we have defeated Black Saga Storm. All right, we are now 3-1. The best legacy podcast? That would be Eternal Glory featuring myself, Bryant Cook, alongside Brian Cobalt and Phil Gallagher. We're available on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. The final round of this legacy league, we are on the play. Our opponent only has one deck in their Goldfish history, and it's Simic Omnitel. This seems like a fine hand. We'll play Bloodstained Mire and pass. Okay, well, that is not a typical Simic Omnitel land. We'll grab Undercity Sewers. They could be blue post or mono green post. I think we want the Burning Wish. Play the Bloodstained Mire and let's pass the turn. They have a Planar Nexus, so now they have 3 available mana. And end step we'll play Brainstorm. A little awkward here, just because we don't have green to protect with the Veil of Summer, or double red for the Hexing Squelcher. I don't think we need the gamble. And then maybe the Scrubland, and this is a great spot where having the Commercial District in the main deck could help us out quite a bit here. So I will grab the Commercial District, and hopefully we hit like a Lotus Petal or another fetch land. I'd also take a Mox Opal. And it's Lotus Petal, so now we have a protected win. We'll play Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Disruptor Flute, okay. Name Beseech the Mirror. They do name Beseech the Mirror. Okay, so now we'll play Lion's Eye Diamond. Lion's Eye Diamond. So let's counter mana. So I have 3 floating plus 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds. That's 9. Lotus Petal would be 10. Commercial District is 11. Burning Wish into Peer into the Abyss is 7 mana plus 2 is 9 mana. So we have exactly enough mana, which is 11, to go Hexing Squelcher, Burning Wish, Peer into the Abyss. That is what we'll do here. Alright, and now I'll sacrifice the Lotus Petal. We will hold control. I mentioned this in a recent video, but that holding priority button that you just saw on the screen flash, I coded that. That is not built into Magic Online. So it mostly just tells me or lets me know that I'm actually holding the control key. It is not actually tied to priority, because sometimes with Magic Online, priority sticks or it changes. So it's not exactly true, but it's fairly good. We'll play Lotus Petal. And now Chrome Mox. We'll probably imprint one of these Beseech the Mirrors I can't use. Need some more mana. And there's a Tendrils of Agony. That's good. Keep casting some spells. If they let me, I would like to Burning Wish for Thoughtseize so I can find out what they're actually playing. Imprint a Hexing Squelcher. Burning Wish. Yes. Grab Thoughtseize. Can I cast it fast enough? They're on blue post with double force, but Hexing Squelcher found a way through. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Hate blue post. Deck is garbage. Karn the Great Creator players. Ugh. Tendrils of Agony. And we win game number 1. Nice. We likely want the Silence. Jetmir's Garden. Visaggio Indoors. And I think that this is a matchup where you can't afford to keep in Brainstorm. It's just you have too many cards that you need in order to function. Because you need answers to Karn the Great Creator. You need protection. So I think that this, unfortunately, is a matchup that you board out Brainstorm. And then we're still at 63. So we'll get rid of a Mox Opal, shave a Gamble, and then board out a fetch land. Because we're bringing in 2 lands. And we'll hit submit. Oh boy. So Tendrils of Agony in my opening hand is not amazing. This hand is really relying on Gamble for Lion's Eye Diamond Spin Echo, but it also doesn't have any protection. I think we can do better. I'm going to mulligan. I don't know about this. We're going to go to 5. Keep. We'll get rid of 2 copies of Lotus Petal. They have an Ancient Tomb. We'll play Undercity Sewers. I think we keep the Burning Wish. Pass. And step Disruptor Flute. And they name Burning Wish. Ah, that hurts. Okay. Now they play Urza's Tower. We'll play the Vernic Catacombs and pass. And step the Kozilek's Command for 1. Another Urza's Tower. Karn the Great Piece of Trash. I'm going to concede. I can't beat that. Not in this spot. Okay, going to game 3. Let's try it again. On the play. This hand is so reliant on finding Lion's Eye Diamond. I think this hand is kind of a trap. Like, it looks like it plays, but it doesn't really. You can't cast Beseech the Mirror. You're multiple mana sources away. You need it to resolve. I think you're supposed to mulligan, unfortunately. Into the same hand, but worse. We'll go to 5. This is a good hand. We'll keep this. Bottom, Guy's Will, and Veil of Summer. Play the Bloodstained Mire, Lion's Eye Diamond. Hopefully these resolve. Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Opal. We'll make a red, black, red, and we'll Runehorn Hellkite floating a red. I'm floating red because we have Burning Wish, Gamble, and Hexing Squelcher. So that's my thought process here. And I did not get a hand that wins. I think I'm going to just pass the turn. So we started this game up 2 permanents. That's not the worst thing. They have an Ancient Tomb and 2 Disruptor Flute. I guess I could have fetched in response because now they could name Bloodstained Mire. They name Burning Wish again. We'll fetch. I am worried about Karn the Great Creator, but there's not a whole lot I can do in this spot. We'll grab Commercial District. So if I keep this, I just want to talk through this. Could I play Song with backup? I could. Alright, so we'll keep the Chrome Mox. Play Badlands. Chrome Mox. Imprint Silence. Did I play the wrong land? Did I just cost myself? I think I played the wrong land. Yeah. Oh no. I should have thought through that. I originally played the Badlands because I thought, hey, I need to be able to have my colors open post Song of Creation. But now if I play Gamble, or if I play Chrome Mox and print Gamble, does this actually work? Hold on. So Chrome Mox and print Gamble. So it would be red, white, blue, green. Yeah, it doesn't work. I messed up. I'm going to shame pass the turn now. There's no point in doubling down on my mistake and playing out the Chrome Mox and printing Gamble. It's just not going to be very helpful here. So we have to look to fade for a turn. Okay, looks like we're not punished. Not yet, at least. And another land. So I'll fetch Underground Sea. We do need to play out Chrome Mox in order to have 5 mana to protect the Song of Creation. So white, blue, red, green. Play Song of Creation. They Force of Will, exiling Lorien Revealed. I will play Veil of Summer. They had double force. Okay. Pass the turn. Planar Nexus, and they pass. Unfortunately, we drew another land. So I cannot gamble for Echo in this spot. It just doesn't work. I'm going to pass the turn. And step Kozilek's Command for 3. Yep. This isn't good because it digs super deep for another interaction spell or a Planeswalker that we don't want to see. They put 2 cards on top, which is terrifying. They have 3 cards in hand now. They play another Planar Nexus into a stock up. The One Ring. Okay. They have 2 cards in hand and now they draw a card. I'm still capable of winning. We'll grab the Undercity Sewers. I think we keep Boomerang Basics. So Boomerang Basics is interesting here. I could bounce Chrome Mox, and then anything I draw I could imprint. The only downside is if I draw another land, even though we have a lot of them out of the deck, I could bounce the One Ring and try to draw out a Force of Will. I'll try to bounce the One Ring. Let's see if they interact here. They do not. I'll fetch with the Bloodstained Mire. We'll grab Taiga. Cast Gamble. They have a Disruptor Flute. Yep. They name Echo of Aeons. Well, we're going to grab an Echo anyway, and then pass the turn. Okay. They drop to 4 cards. They play the One Ring again. Draw another card back up to 4. They play Waterlogged Teachings as a land. They have 3 cards in hand. Beseech Dimir. If this resolves, we win, because I could just go get Gaia's Will. But the question is, does it resolve? Beseech Dimir, bargain the empty Chrome Mox. And we'll grab another Beseech Dimir. Bargain Mox Opal. And now we'll grab the Gaia's Will. Ooh, Gaia's Will resolved. Let's go. Play Verdant Catacombs. We'll fetch. This can grab Scrubland. People like it when I pop out my graveyard. It's not something I would ever do for myself. Like, this is not how I like to play Magic, but I will indulge those that do like it. We'll begin by playing Lion's Eye Diamond. I'll move it so you can see the storm count. So we have 4 storm. We'll play the other diamond. I'm trying to keep my colors open. So you could just start off with Song of Creation, but I don't think that's as effective here. So we'll do 3 blue for 1 color and then 3 red. So then we need blue and we need green and then 1 generic for Song of Creation. So now Song of Creation is on the stack. I'm glad that we're getting to do this for the video to show you how you should set up Empty the Warrens plus pass. Song triggers. No, don't concede. Ah, come on. Our opponent conceded. Okay, so the game plan would be we have 35 cards in deck. We have 2 more copies of Silence. I would have set up a situation in which I could beseech the mirror, away the Song of Creation, empty the Warrens for like 40, and then pass the turn holding double silence plus Veil of Summer backup. So that way on their turn they couldn't do anything. Unfortunately, they conceded early, and we finished this league 4-1. All right, so we lost the one match where our deck decided to just not play Magic versus Energy, and sometimes that happens. Like, combo decks have fail rates. I liked the consistency of having both Surveil lands again. You saw it was a little awkward having 3 tap lands versus the Black Saga Storm deck. It is not a free thing to be playing 5 colors, especially one with perfect fetch lands. And what I mean by that is your fetch land can get any land in the deck. There's plenty of mana bases that exist where you can create a mana base where one fetch land misses one land in the deck, but then your fetches become really awkward. So I've played a bunch of those in my life and they never feel good. So playing Jetmir's Garden or Rafine's Tower, or whatever triome that you select, allows you to have that perfect mana base. And that's part of why I like the list that I played today. So yeah, it felt pretty good. I plan on continuing to play this list moving forward. I don't know if I see any changes coming, but you never know. Maybe the data tells me that silence isn't good in a couple weeks and I change my mind. I do use data to my advantage. So that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Matthew Story for the donation deck. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, keep storming. Are you looking to level up your combo game? There's no better way than signing up for an Epic Storm tutoring session with myself truly. You could visit theepicstorm.com/tutoring to sign up today, or you could even become a member of the Combo Cabal here on this very YouTube channel. With all the additional perks, you get 1 hour of tutoring every month. Go check that out.